Have you ever noticed yourself doing something small, without meaning to, that might push others away? As we grow older, we gain wisdom and a deeper sense of what truly matters. Yet, along the way we can also pick up habits that quietly affect our relationships, happiness, and dignity. Most people won't tell us about them, not out of neglect but out of respect. And so, these habits can stay hidden for years. This video is here to shine a gentle, honest light on those patterns. Not to shame but to empower. We'll look at 7 common habits many seniors carry without realizing it. Small behaviors that often come from good intentions, but if left unchecked, can build barriers instead of bridges. If you've ever wondered why conversations don't flow like you hoped, or why some people seem to drift away, these habits might hold some answers. Recognizing them is the first step to change. Stay with us. By the end, you'll not only spot these patterns, but also learn simple, graceful ways to replace them with habits that bring more ease, connection, and joy. Let's begin, together and with kindness. Number 1. Judging others too quickly based on appearance or choices. It's a reflex so subtle, most of us don't even realize when we're doing it. You see someone pass by, bright blue hair, tattoos winding down their arms, clothes that don't fit your idea of proper. You spot a woman in her 50s dressing in a way you wouldn't have dared at that age. You hear a political opinion that makes you bristle. And without even meaning to, something inside hardens into judgment. Over time, if left unchecked, this quiet habit of judgment can quietly push people away. Not because they don't love us, but because they start to feel unseen, unaccepted, misunderstood. And it's not just about appearance or lifestyle or politics. It's about something deeper. It's about the message we send when we assume that age grants us the right to decide who's right, who's wrong, and who belongs. The heartbreaking part? Many of the people we end up judging are the very ones we most long to connect with. Our children, our neighbors, our grandchildren. When we meet them with judgment instead of curiosity, we build walls where we hoped for bridges. Take Richard, for example. A 78-year-old veteran proud of his discipline and values. His granddaughter came to visit one afternoon, wearing clothes and tattoos that startled him. Without thinking, he made a small, sharp comment under his breath. She paused, looked at him with tears in her eyes, and simply said, "Grandpa, I just wish you could see me before you judge me." That moment changed Richard. He didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He simply listened. And for the first time in years, their next visit was filled with laughter instead of tension. Because when we replace judgment with curiosity, everything shifts. Instead of thinking, "Why would they do that?" try wondering, "What's their story?" Instead of deciding, "They're wrong," ask yourself, "What might they be teaching me?" Because every single person you meet has walked a road you haven't. They carry battles, dreams, hopes, and hurts you know nothing about. And wisdom, true wisdom, doesn't always wear a suit. It doesn't always live or vote or look the way you did. Connection isn't a reward we hand out to those who meet our standards. It's a gift we offer freely, with openness, with humility, with grace. When we lead with curiosity instead of conclusions, we create relationships that feel safe, joyful, and real. We make room for others to show up as they are, and in doing so we make room for love to grow. And isn't that what we really want? Not just to be right, but to be close, to be trusted, to be remembered not as someone who judged, but as someone who truly saw. You have that power, every single day. Number 2. Dismissing new ideas or technology. We've all heard the jokes. Older people can't use smartphones. They resist change. They think the world's spinning too fast. But here's the truth. Those aren't facts. They're stereotypes. Small, limiting boxes that don't reflect the full richness of who you are. And the more we unconsciously buy into those stories, the more we start to live by them. That's where the habit of dismissing new ideas or technology becomes a quiet trap. At first, it often shows up in subtle ways. A new feature on your phone. A self-checkout kiosk at the grocery store. An unfamiliar app that someone casually mentions. The reflex kicks in. "I don't need that. That's for kids. I've gotten along just fine without it." On the surface, those words sound confident. But underneath, they're often a shield, a quiet defense against the uncomfortable feeling of being lost or left behind. And there's absolutely no shame in not knowing something. Learning curves are part of life at every age. The trouble comes when discomfort turns into rejection. When we consistently reject newness, two quiet things happen. We stop growing and we start cutting ourselves off, especially from the people we love, many of whom move through life with those very tools we choose to ignore. Imagine a family dinner where everyone is laughing over something shared in a group chat, but you're not part of it because group chats felt too complicated. Imagine a friend sending you an invitation online, but you miss out because I don't do things like that. Each small no chips away at connection. Now, this doesn't mean you have to love every new gadget or trend. It's perfectly fine to have your preferences. But when curiosity is replaced by resistance, when every new thing is met with an automatic no, people around you start to assume you don't want to be included. Not because they don't love you, but because it's painful to extend an invitation only to see it brushed aside. There's something even deeper at work here too. When we stop learning, we stop exercising one of our brain's greatest gifts, neuroplasticity. Studies show that older adults who continue learning, even small, simple things, maintain sharper thinking, brighter moods, and stronger social connections. Learning keeps the mind alive, flexible, and hopeful. Take Linda, for example, 72 years old and proud of her independence. When her granddaughter gave her a tablet, she laughed it off at first. What would I do with this thing? But something in her stayed open. She gave it a try. Today, Linda reads the morning paper on her tablet. She video chats with friends across the country. She watches classic films, with subtitles to catch every word. I didn't think I needed it, she says, but I didn't realize how much more connected I could feel. The lesson isn't about becoming a tech expert. It's about staying open, about saying show me, instead of I'm too old for that. It's about seeing each new thing not as a threat to your way of life, but as a possible enrichment to it. Because the habit of shutting down newness isn't just about gadgets or apps. It's about mindset. It's about staying flexible in spirit. About expanding your world, not shrinking it. About choosing curiosity over judgment. The older we get, the more deliberate we must be about growth. It doesn't happen by accident anymore. It happens by choice. And choosing to remain curious, to keep asking, learning, trying, is one of the most beautiful signs of emotional maturity. It signals to the people around you, especially the younger ones, that you are not just wise. You are awake, alive, still growing. And that, dear friend, is a legacy worth leaving. If you're still with us, I'd love to hear from you. Please comment number 2 below if this message resonated with you. Your voice matters here. And if you haven't yet, I warmly invite you to subscribe and turn on the little bell icon so you never miss an opportunity to reflect, grow, and feel uplifted with us. Your support helps us continue creating content that informs, inspires, and honors the beautiful journey you're on. Thank you for being here, for your presence, your wisdom, and your willingness to keep moving forward with grace. Now let's continue together. Number 3. The habit of saying, I already know. There's a moment in many conversations, especially between generations, that can quietly shut everything down before it even begins. Someone starts to share a story, a discovery, a bit of hard-won wisdom. And before they can even finish their thought, the response comes. Oh, I already know that. At first glance, it seems innocent, even natural. After all, you have lived a long, full life. You've seen things. You've learned lessons, some the hard way. It's true. Much of what younger people share might feel familiar to you. But here's the difficult truth said with love. That simple phrase, I already know, can be a quiet, devastating conversation killer. And if we're not mindful, it becomes a habit that gently but steadily pushes people away, especially younger ones who may already feel uncertain about how to connect across the generations. When you say, I already know, even without meaning to, what the other person often hears is, there's no space for your voice here. Your story doesn't matter. Your experience isn't valued. And over time they stop trying. Not because they don't love you, but because they feel dismissed. They begin to retreat, to tread carefully, to share less of themselves, not out of rebellion but out of quiet resignation. Even if your intent is good, Even if you only want to show that you're still sharp, still engaged, the effect can be the opposite of what you hope for. Because the sharpest, most alive minds aren't the ones that show off what they know. They're the ones that stay curious. The ones that make space for others to be seen, heard, and valued. Think of conversation as a dance, not a debate. Even if you've danced to this song before, the person in front of you is offering it in their own rhythm, with their own meaning. Sometimes it's less about the facts being shared, and more about the connection being offered. Take Sam, for example, a retired firefighter, 76 years old, known for his quick wit and big heart. One afternoon, his grandson came bounding into the living room, eager to share a history lesson he had just learned, a story Sam knew like the back of his hand. Sam could have easily said, "Oh yes, I know all about that." But instead, he smiled and leaned forward, saying simply, "Tell me what you learned." That simple sentence opened a door. It wasn't just a conversation about history, it became a shared moment of wonder, pride, and deeper connection. A memory that both of them still treasure. You don't have to pretend you don't know something. You don't have to hide your wisdom. But you can invite rather than correct. You can say, "That's interesting. What made you think about that? Tell me more. How do you see it?" It's not about facts. It's about the heart behind the words. Because at the end of the day, nobody ever feels truly loved by being told they're wrong to speak. They feel loved when they are heard, when their words land not in a mind rushing to respond, but in a heart willing to listen. And what a gift it is to be that heart, still open, still curious, still growing, no matter how many years you've been blessed to walk this earth. Number 4. Constantly comparing everything to the past. There is a deep comfort in the past, isn't there? The music seemed richer, more soulful. Prices made sense. And life, in many ways, felt simpler, or at least, it feels that way when we look back through the lens of memory. When you've lived through so many vivid, meaningful decades, it's only natural to revisit them with fondness. The past holds moments that shaped us, lessons that built us, and joys we treasure. But here's where a gentle caution is needed. When every moment in the present is measured against how it used to be, something precious quietly slips away. The people in front of us, children, grandchildren, even dear old friends, stop feeling heard. Conversations become less about shared connection and more about silent comparisons. We risk sounding not wise but stuck. It's a habit that can creep in almost without notice. Someone shares their excitement about a new gadget, a fresh idea, a different way of doing things, and before we even realize it, the words tumble out. "Well, back in my day, that would have never worked in the 60s. At its heart, these comments often come from a place of wanting to share, to offer perspective. But too often they land as something very different, as a quiet dismissal. The unspoken message becomes, "What you're excited about isn't good enough." And when that message repeats often enough, people start to withdraw. They stop bringing you their news, their passions, their dreams, because they fear hearing once again that it doesn't measure up. Even among peers, those who share your memories, the constant refrain of better times can over time feel weary. It can slowly turn rich conversations about the future into endless replays of the past. Of course, there is absolutely a place for nostalgia. A well-told memory can bring laughter, understanding, even healing. But when nostalgia becomes the constant benchmark, it turns into a barrier, a subtle wall between you and the vibrant life unfolding right now. Take George, for example, a 79-year-old retired school principal. When his grandson came to visit, full of pride about a new video editing app he was learning, George's first instinct was to brush it off. "When I was your age, we didn't waste time on things like that." But something in him paused. Instead, he smiled and said, "Show me how it works." An hour later, they were side by side, laughing, editing an old family video, merging past and present, not with judgment but with curiosity and joy. That one small choice changed everything. It turned a potential wall into a beautiful bridge. The truth is, the past has shaped you, but it should not shape how you treat the present. There is life happening right now. New stories are being written. New ideas are being born. New memories are waiting to be created. When you meet people where they are, not where you once were, you keep connection alive. You breathe vitality into your relationships. Instead of saying, "We had it better," you can say, "That's interesting, tell me more." Those words open doors instead of closing them. Every generation carries its own struggles and strengths. Yours did. Theirs do too. Neither is perfect. Neither is lesser. So let your memories inspire warmth, not distance. Let your nostalgia weave into the present as an invitation, not a measuring stick. When you do, you give others a precious gift, the feeling of being welcomed, not compared. And in that welcome, real connection blooms, fresh, alive, and full of possibility. If this message about listening with an open heart spoke to you, please comment number 4 below. I'd love to know you're here, growing and reflecting with us. And if you haven't already, I warmly invite you to subscribe and tap the bell icon, so you'll always be the first to receive new reflections, reminders, and inspirations. Your support truly helps us continue creating thoughtful content that honors the journey we're all on. Thank you for walking this path of wisdom and connection with me. Let's keep moving forward, together. Number 5. Constantly talking about health issues. It often begins so innocently. A small comment about a sore back. An update about a new medication. A quick story about a recent doctor's visit. These are natural human things to share, especially with those who love us and care about our well-being. But without even realizing it, many of us can slip into a pattern where conversations slowly start to orbit around one single theme. What's hurting? What's broken? What's wrong? Here's why this habit, though understandable, can quietly wear away at connection. When every conversation turns into a health update, it can leave others feeling helpless, overwhelmed, or even quietly exhausted. They may care deeply, and most often they do. But they don't always know what to say. They can't fix it. They can't ease it. And over time, that feeling of helplessness can lead to distance. Not because they love you any less, but because emotional fatigue can quietly build up. It's vital to honor your experience. Your struggles are real and your pain is valid. But it's also important to gently ask yourself, is this something I truly need to share right now, or is it just a habit I've fallen into? There's a quiet but powerful difference between expressing pain and identifying with it. If we let illness or discomfort define too much of our identity, it starts to shape not only how others see us, but how we see ourselves. And you, dear friend, are so much more than a collection of aches and diagnoses. You are a lifetime of stories, laughter, wisdom, compassion, humor, curiosity, a soul that has traveled many roads. The people around you want to connect with you, not just the list of what's wrong. True connection blooms through shared laughter, curiosity, light moments. Not just discussions about blood pressure readings or joint pain. Of course your health matters. Of course your struggles are real and worthy of respect. But when health challenges dominate every conversation, they quietly squeeze out the space where joy, lightness, and discovery can flourish. Take Alice, for instance, 80 years old, sharp, and full of life. She once joked to her daughter, "You're the one who needs a hearing aid, not me." But after one particularly heavy lunch conversation, yet another one where the entire time was spent detailing her arthritis and digestion issues, Alice noticed something. Her daughter left the table looking drained, not uplifted. Alice realized that during that whole lunch, she hadn't asked even one question about her daughter's life. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't selfishness. It was simply a habit that had taken over. Quietly, Alice decided to shift. She still shared her health updates, but more mindfully. She started by first asking about others, by listening with warmth, by weaving in memories, humor, or little thoughts about the world beyond her body. And something beautiful happened. Her conversations grew warmer. Her relationships deepened. And Alice herself felt lighter, more alive. Sharing your struggles isn't the problem. The problem is when pain becomes the only lens you see life through. When it becomes the only song you sing, people, and even your own spirit, begin to miss the rest of your beautiful melody. You deserve to be seen not just as someone managing pain, but as someone who still carries wisdom, humor, tenderness, and dreams yet unfolding. So next time you're in conversation, try a simple pause. Ask the other person about their day. Share a memory from long ago. Offer a thought about something that made you smile or wonder. Let your health be a chapter in your story, not the whole book. When you do, you'll find that not only do others draw closer, but your own heart will feel a little lighter, a little freer, and a little more alive. Number 6. Oversharing personal details with strangers. There's a fine, often invisible line between being open and being overwhelming. And as the years roll on, that line can quietly begin to blur. You meet someone while standing in line at the pharmacy. You sit next to someone new at a church gathering. The moment feels right for conversation, and before you know it, you've shared your entire medical history, 3 family disputes, and the full saga of your neighbor's recent divorce, all within a few minutes. Now let's be clear. There's nothing wrong with being friendly. Many of us grew up in a time when talking to strangers was second nature, a part of daily life, a way to build community. But what often goes unnoticed is that times and social norms have shifted. What once felt like natural neighborly conversation can today come across as too much too soon. Oversharing often isn't about carelessness. It usually comes from something deeply human, a longing for connection, a heart that's hungry for meaningful conversation after too many quiet days. Sometimes, when someone simply listens, we pour it all out almost without meaning to. But here's the hard truth said with love. That kind of emotional dumping can leave the listener feeling overwhelmed, caught off guard, or even uncomfortable, especially if the relationship isn't yet deep enough to carry that kind of weight. It's not that your stories aren't important. They are. It's how and when you share them that matters most. Take Tom, for example, a spirited 74-year-old who loved making new connections. At the gym one day, he struck up a conversation with a younger man. Within 10 minutes, Tom had shared details about a recent surgery, how he no longer spoke to one of his sons, and how his last 3 birthdays had been lonely. The young man listened politely, but he never returned to that conversation. Not because Tom wasn't worth knowing, but because the conversation became too heavy, too fast. Tom wasn't trying to push anyone away. In fact, he was trying to draw someone in. But without realizing it, he created an imbalance that the relationship couldn't yet hold. Healthy, lasting connection needs time. It needs breathing room. And one of the most powerful relational skills you can practice at any age is learning when to hold back just a little. Not to hide yourself, but to honor the delicate rhythm of human connection. Instead of diving straight into life's hardest stories, start small. Ask a question. Share something light. Notice what the other person offers in return. Think of building conversation like building a bridge. You don't lay every heavy stone at once. You build gradually with care and balance. This isn't about being guarded or fake. Quite the opposite. When you share thoughtfully, you protect not just the relationship, but also your own dignity, grace, and sense of connection. You give your stories room to breathe, and you give others the space to truly meet you, not just politely endure you. Your stories matter. Your experiences matter. And when shared with patience, they can inspire, teach, and connect across any generation. If you're still with us, I'd love to hear from you. Please comment number 6 below if this message resonated with you. Your voice matters here. And if you haven't yet, I warmly invite you to subscribe and turn on the little bell icon so you never miss an opportunity to reflect, grow, and feel uplifted with us. Your support helps us continue creating content that informs, inspires, and honors the beautiful journey you're on. Thank you for being here, for your presence, your wisdom, and your willingness to keep moving forward with grace. Now let's continue together. Number 7. Dominating conversations with stories, and forgetting to leave space. Storytelling is one of the greatest gifts that comes with age. When you've lived through the richness of decades, your life becomes a tapestry woven with experiences that younger generations can barely imagine. You've witnessed changes, endured seasons, celebrated moments that shaped entire eras. And sharing those memories, the wisdom, the laughter, even the heartaches, can be a powerful, beautiful way to connect, to teach, to inspire. But like any powerful tool, storytelling must be handled with care. When storytelling shifts from sharing to dominating, something changes. Instead of creating connection, it can quietly create distance. It's easy to miss when this happens. You're in the middle of a conversation, someone says something that reminds you of a memory, and naturally, you dive into your story. Then another. And another. Meanwhile, without meaning any harm, you begin to take up all the airspace. Conversations turn into monologues. Other people become spectators instead of participants. You may not even realize it's happening. After all, you're simply sharing what feels natural, even generous. But watch for the subtle signs. People glancing at their phones, shifting in their seats, offering short, polite smiles without jumping in. They aren't being rude. They're trying, gently, to re-enter the conversation. This is especially true across generations. Younger people are often reluctant to interrupt an older adult, out of respect. So instead of voicing their discomfort, they simply withdraw, inwardly wishing for a chance to share, to be heard too. Take Barbara, for example, an 82-year-old matriarch known for her storytelling. One afternoon, after a long coffee date with her daughter finally said, "Mom, I love your stories, but I miss talking with you, not just listening to you." Barbara didn't stop telling stories. She simply began doing something new. She started asking more questions. She started listening between the lines. She started noticing when others leaned in, and when they started pulling away. The conversations that followed were richer, more mutual, more alive. Because true conversation isn't just about telling. It's about sharing. It's a rhythm of give and receive. It's making space for someone else's laughter, someone else's memory, someone else's voice to dance alongside your own. The goal isn't to silence your stories. Your life is a treasure trove. But it's to tell them with awareness, with care, with a heart that leaves room for others to bring their treasures too. When you tell a story, keep it concise. Leave a natural pause. Watch for body language that says, "I have something to add." Invite others in by asking, "What about you? Has anything like that ever happened to you?" Because the richest conversations aren't performances. They're shared experiences, small, sacred places where hearts meet. When you listen as much as you share, you don't just tell your story. You become part of someone else's. And in doing so, you create connection that is not only beautiful, but lasting. Final thoughts. As we move through the seasons of life, it's easy to think that growth is something meant only for the young. But the truth is, every day we're given breath is a day we can choose to soften, to open, to become even more of who we are meant to be. The small habits we've talked about today, the ones that can quietly push others away, don't define us. They're simply invitations. Invitations to pause, to reflect, to gently adjust the way we show up for the people around us. You carry a lifetime of wisdom, of love, of stories that deserve to be shared and celebrated. And when you meet the world with curiosity instead of comparison, with openness instead of judgment, you don't just stay connected. You become a bridge between generations, a light in a world that deeply needs it. Remember, it's never too late to grow. It's never too late to choose connection over comfort. And every small shift you make today plants seeds of love that will ripple far beyond what you can see. Thank you for spending this time with me. It's an honor to walk this journey with you. If today's video resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please comment below which habit spoke to you most, or simply type, "I'm growing," to let me know you're on this journey too. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and tap the bell so you'll always be the first to receive new reflections and encouragements. Your support, your presence, your willingness to keep learning, it means more than you know. Until next time, keep choosing kindness, keep choosing growth, and keep shining your beautiful light. I'll see you soon.